Transmission from DPN. This one's entitled Blame.
We present Blame by John Fryer.
Good morning, sir.
What's good about it, Sergeant?
The sun's out, Inspector.
Never ready.
Very fast, sir. Won't you come in?
Do I really have a choice?
No, not really, sir.
Where is it?
They all took place downstairs.
You're in the hall.
This place has a cellar.
Better show me.
This way. Socko rigged some lights up yesterday. There are no bulbs down there.
I take it uniform has spoken to the neighbours.
The neighbours claim they heard nothing. They say they didn't even know the man that lived here. Well, nobody does these days, do they, sir?
I wish I didn't know mine.
It appears to be the only property in this street with a cellar. So, this is it.
Bigger than I expected.
The chair was over here, by the wall.
They were tied to.
Each one. At separate times, obviously.
Obviously. How did he get them here?
Drugs, we're guessing. But we don't know with what at the moment.
Not until we locate the bodies, you mean?
Pathology will then be able to tell us more.
Blood is splattered against the back wall and on the floor.
5 different types.
And a tenant that the neighbours don't know?
Gone. Didn't pay his rent. The landlord came round, found it like this.
In the dark. How did he know?
By this, sir.
Video camera.
With a light attached on top.
Yeah, I see it. So, he filmed them, and the landlord watched the film?
And then called us.
Have you seen it?
Not yet, sir.
Got your gloves on?
I do.
Brought some popcorn.
I doubt it'll be that kind of film, sir.
Me neither. Hit play, Sergeant.
A bit of writing first.
Your eyes are young.
It says, how did this start? As you can see, sir, a middle-aged man, hands tied behind his back, light from the camera.
So the cameraman could see the victim, but the guy on the chair just had the light.
Can you at least
You might have
turn the
gotten
light
a
down?
silhouetted image
It's
of
right
the
in
man
my eyes.
operating the camera, but not much else.
It wouldn't cost you.
Quite clever, our
You can
camera.
still see me.
Wonder
I'm
what they
still
talk
tied to
about.
this chair.
Let's watch the film.
Where do you think I'm
First
going
one
to
up
go?
is George.
Where do you think I
George
can go?
Parry. That's his name.
Where do you think I can go? Oh, thank you. And you know how this all started. Everyone knows. If you could find anyone still out on the streets, you could throw a stone and hit someone that could tell you how all this started. What is it you want to hear? That I like this? That I wanted this to turn out as it did? Do you think anyone wanted this? Well, maybe someone somewhere did, but they didn't tell me of their plans. Look, I can see that you're upset. I do understand, you know. I'm not inhuman. I do realize that this has been tough for you. For me, for everyone. But this wasn't my fault. I'm not suggesting that it was yours. Although this is. Why have you done this?
Who's this?
We think this is Peter Hennessy. Well, he's one of the people reported missing anyway.
The cameraman edited them together.
According to the landlord, he did this all the way through. There are 3 more people after this.
We better start paying attention to what
I
they
can feel it,
say.
see? You can almost sense the mentally crippled before they open their trap. And that was you. Strange how it's come to this. You sitting over there, stewing in your own guilt, no doubt. So what are you going to do? Kill me? Slap me around a bit? Gonna try and have me, are you? Come on then, have a go! Sorry about that. Had to get it out of my system. Not the way I had expected the day to go. I thought in all honesty that you were joking when you asked me over. We weren't close, were we? Not exactly friends now, are we? Our wives aren't pals, are they? Okay, I don't have a wife at the moment. Do you? Do you have a wife? At the moment? Girlfriend? Partner? Significant other? Gerbil? Hamster? Poem collection? Record collection? Collective works of Oscar Wilde? Anything?
At least he got the pipes sorted out between visitors.
Maybe he thought it would affect the quality of the recording.
Quality control for a mass killer. Didn't see that in movies. Who's this?
We're pretty sure this is Daphne Warrington from the
Her father's a wealthy business.
Connected, so the rumour goes.
Not the least. We don't find the killer, you can be sure her father. There won't be no trial.
Let me off this chair. Let me off this chair. Let
She
me
has
off
to
this
say.
chair. Let me off this. Let me off this chair. You know who my father is. I know you do. He's connected. Do you know what that means? He knows people. And he'll be out looking for me. And when he finds me here in this dump, he'll have his friends kill you. They'll get you and they'll cut your throat out. That's what he'll do. And I'll watch him do it and I'll enjoy it. They'll hold you down and kick the hell out of you. And I'll watch you. And I'll see you in fear and you'll know this was where your life started to come to an end. That this was the day in which you threw your pathetic little life away. And no one will miss you. That's the thing, isn't it? No one will give a damn that you were ever here. No one will even remember who you were. Do you understand me? Who you were. You'll be forgotten. Because people like you... there are millions of you. That's what my father says. Millions and millions and millions and millions. You come, and you go.
Well, she is a charm.
Was a charmer, sir.
You know, this isn't the answer. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the question is, but whatever it is, this isn't the answer to it. You can't think this is going to achieve... Well,
This one?
I don't know what it is. What
Dave
it wants
Smith,
to achieve.
sir.
They all work for the same company.
I think I'm just trying to say...
Read the
this,
missing person.
What I'm trying to say is...
It's what uniform thinks, sir.
That you are taking. I mean,
Uniform might be right.
seriously, why am I here? You know, I know we know each other, but only on a professional basis, or what was a professional basis. We don't know each other now. Not that I would have any issue with that. It's just that, obviously, things have changed. I mean, and I don't think you can challenge the company on the approach they took. I'm sorry, I don't. Like, the firm did everything within the rules. It completely followed government guidelines. I don't know if you looked up what was said on the website or not, but the firm only did as it was instructed to by the government. So whatever you feel about the actions of the head office team, they were simply doing what they were meant to do.
I really can't say.
And this is...
Ruth King.
Although I doubt it.
Yes, sir.
You don't seem very memorable.
She must be the last one.
Did you attend
Company
one of the company's
secretary, I
functions? You're not the head of a department, are you? Newly appointed.
Let's hear her out.
I know all of the department heads, and I'm afraid you simply don't register. No? Never mind. We can't all be Mr. Warrington, can we? There's only one of him and quite a few of, well, everyone else. You, I'm thinking, must be one of the everyone else brigade. There's nothing particularly wrong with that. Every army needs its foot soldiers. It's just that they don't normally do this. So, what can I do for you? Is there a reason for any of this? It was contained within the introductory pack, which you must have signed when you started with us. that if you had any issues with company policies that you would take this with your line manager, Mr. Barry. This is not the way to conduct things, young man. No good can come from this approach. So, why don't we end this now? Release me. Perhaps you can make me a cup of tea. I do take sugar.
I suppose you think you're being clever. After all, who's going to know that you're down here? Not likely to be disturbed by the Avon lady, are we? Do you know the Avon lady? Ding dong? No? Before your time, I'm sure. Look, these things happen. It's just part of life. You cannot go around taking your disappointment out on people just because things didn't turn out your way.
Were you a member of the Scouts? Not your thing, are they? You must have a plan. You must have thought this through. What is it that you want? You want to go for a pint? Pretend that we're all friends again? What? Put all this behind us? Not really the way it works, mate. Screw you. You're a clown. We all knew that you sent those emails to Daphne's mobile. And we all know what you said on them. How do we know? Because she shared them with us.
Let me off this chair. Happy now? I'm facing front. So, what are you gonna do? Strip me? Rape me? What's your big plan? Do you even have one? Come on, freak, tell me what you're gonna do. I know you're the type of person that does nothing. And that is the story of your life. Oh, loser. Loser. Loser!
And I don't believe there was any malicious intent on the company's part. They were simply finding their feet, like the rest of us. They said, I heard them, that these were unprecedented times, times like no other. It's what they said. I've 2 children, 2 girls, Jess and Anne, 5 and 4, and a wife, Amanda.
Forget it. It could have been any of us. It was just one of those, what do you call them? First world problem. Some people thought your words were actually quite sweet. I never wrote anything like that, you know, to women. Maybe that's why you were seen as a bit different. You have to be careful what you write these days. She's only a kid. Her dad owns a company, for Pete's sake. What do you want me to say? Untie my hands and let me go.
Not that you ever did anything before. What is it? Is this some grand seduction? Is that it? Tell me why this is so much more romantic than that stockroom at the Christmas party.
So, it didn't work out too good for you. It didn't work out too good for a lot of people. You're going to cry about it? Stamp your feet? There's no point just sitting there. This was your idea. You brought me here. I didn't ask you to come on over. You begged for my help, and here I am. Well, I won't be doing it again, I can tell you that. You've gone too far.
You shouldn't look at it as a betrayal. It wasn't. It was simply people trying to survive. It wasn't our fault this thing came from abroad, okay? This touched billions. So don't expect me to be on your side just because you were embarrassed by what you decided to send.
I don't like being turned down. How do you think I felt? Do you know how long I had waited to get to see you? That party at the factory only happens once a year. It was my only chance I was going to get for ages. It's easy for you. You're a guy. My father... Well, there are some things nice girls don't do. Only sometimes. If they get the chance, they do.
Sorry, I find this all very uncomfortable. This is not how I spend my average day. but I do have to go home soon.
Were you in the company when it was Oakenshaw? Or were you one of those outsourced operations that we've been forced to use of late? I was against those as well. Bringing others inside when we had perfectly qualified people in-house. And we all know why. You were cheap. There, it's been said, and it has to be. Don't think that those of us who work directly for the firm don't know why you were there. To undercut the rest of us.
I spoke to everyone, personally. I did. I rang each and every member of the staff. Our department was no different. I read out the decision from the board to all that would be directly affected by the statements that came from London. I had no favourites. I treated everyone the same.
For your information, I wasn't the one that forwarded on your message of love to everyone in the company. It wasn't me. It was a friend of mine. He didn't take it very well when everyone knew. He's gone now. I haven't seen Dave for a few days now.
You never were much of a man, were you? That's what I heard among the women. We talk. Why not? You men talk, so why shouldn't we?
I didn't mean that last. What I meant is just, well, it got about, that's all. I mean, I thought, in all truthfulness, that you were quite honourable, to be honest with you. I mean, in fact, sometimes I think in today's world we are more defined by what we choose not to do than by what we decide to do.
I really don't see the need to bring me here, to this place. It is this sort of attitude that will get you nowhere in the world of work, young man. You will have to adopt a more professional demeanour in how you deal with your fellow workers from here on in.
You've tied the ropes really well. I know you're angry about the way this all played out, and I don't think you're wrong. And you should take this up with the union, because that's what I would do.
You think the rest of us didn't know that later on that night you texted Daphne again? I mean, are you stupid or something? She presents you as #1 Fool of the Year in the morning, and then you ask her not to share your text messages with everyone else in the evening.
Okay, so why don't you just untie me? Nobody needs to know about this. I'm not going to tell anyone. Your secrets are safe with me.
I love my wife. I bet that sounds a bit soft to you. I know she married beneath her. That's an old saying, isn't it? But I think it's probably correct. With the rising prices, I couldn't afford to be the man of the household. Just the way it is today.
When one is in the world of men and women, one is expected to raise one's game, young man. You are expected to put all those childish things behind you. I expect you to. Your colleagues expect you to. Mr. Warrington expects you to. And if you can't, you more likely won't rise to the standards expected, then I have no sympathy for you. None of us are irreplaceable.
No decision was made without considerable discussion, and yet, great sadness. Mr. Warrington did not make any of those choices easily. He knew damn well the people he'd come to look upon as colleagues, friends, family were going to have a hard time because of the decisions made in that boardroom. It wasn't personal. It wasn't personal.
All right. I probably shouldn't have done that, but you annoyed me. I was responsible for those keys from the cupboard. You told me that you'd only be 5 minutes. You weren't. I forgot. And then you took them home with you. I was responsible. And I couldn't tell anyone where they were because I had trusted you. and I hadn't made you sign for them. So we failed the audit because of you. One day I knew I'd get you for that. Turn the tables on you. I'd do it again.
It changes people. Don't you find that? When you have a family of your own, puts it all into perspective. That's what they say, isn't it? I think what they mean is that everything gets more expensive.
Yes, of course I could see what was happening. The whole world could see what was happening, even if they didn't want to say it out loud. This might have been a medical problem, but everyone knew that some would survive and some would not.
So, can you let me up off of this chair? Will you please let me up off of this chair? Let me up off of this chair! Let me off of this chair! Let me off this chair! Get me off this chair!
So, like I said, I really do have to go now. Would you untie my hands, please? I've asked nicely. Would you please untie my hands? Nothing special. I'm just like you.
It's just the modern world.
We're not going to get anywhere if you don't open your mouth. I don't know why you're doing this. I'm not a mind reader.
That's why there was a meeting. All right.
Freak!
What is it that you want? For real?
Or is this about something else?
Good question. Wonder if the cameraman moved around.
And another question has just come up on the screen, sir.
What does it say?
Who called the meeting?
Clearly our killer had an agenda.
Yes, sir, but what?
So, you know about that? Well, it wasn't entirely unexpected. There had been talk for about a week. I mean, how could anyone not have guessed? We could all watch the news.
I don't know who called the meeting, and frankly, I don't care. It wasn't my company. I'm a drone. Just like you.
So there was a meeting. So, what? What? You think it was the first time my dad has called a meeting? Jesus! They do it all the time. They have meetings about meetings.
Anyway, I got the call. Furlough was over for me. Time to come back to work, which I did. I'd wondered if everyone else would be there. They weren't. Well, saying that, Peter was there with me. Do you know Peter? Peter Hennessy, same grade as me, did the same job as you. Well, he was there. The place was pretty empty. No one had been there for about 10 weeks, not even the cleaners. It was a bit like a ghost town, actually.
Meetings are private, young man. You do not pry into the nature of such things. I take no part on those occasions. Saying that, I do, of course, take the minutes, as I'm sure you would expect. As I am Mr. Warrington's secretary, a position I have held for over a decade now. So, yes, I am in the room, as you might say, but I have no influence as to the agenda. And my mouth is closed as to what is said, and who said what. So do not ask.
Don't you find that? People, they only ever listen to what they want to hear. If all is going well, then why question anything?
Yes, I got a call. Did I want a few hours' work? Look, the suggestion was that it could stay off the books, a bit of cash in hand, move a few things around, sweep up, make some tea, basically just keep the place tidy.
You and all the others that profess undying love for the factory are not the ones putting everything on the line, are you? All you have to worry about is going home early. It's my father that has to keep the whole thing going, day after day. If you and the others knew anything about running a business, you wouldn't be so judgmental. It takes dedication to build something up from nothing, to work at it hour after hour, to commit to something that comes to dominate your life and be prepared to let everything else be secondary to it, including his own family.
I do know you, young man. Even though you probably think I cannot see you through the glare of that light, well, I can. I remember you only too well, even though I said before that I didn't, but I do. You were brought into the office once by Mr. Perry. Do you remember now? You had to wait to do some menial job or other, and we got to talking. Horses, if you remember. Well, I do. Seems to be a shared passion between us. It's something I've taken an interest in over the years, something I have an ability, if I'm honest, an ability to pick a winner. It's true. It's a gift, really. I look at the form, the ground, the jockey, and for some reason the horse's name just springs out to me. As I said, it's just a talent, God-given, you might say.
I didn't feel that I could say no. The firm had been good to me, as it had been to you. Well, up to that point, obviously. We had all been furloughed. We were all on an extended holiday.
I'm not one to hold grudges, but you did drop me in it last year. I covered for you when you were late that time. You didn't cover for me. It's one of George's things, timekeeping. So, that was really nice of you. You really helped me that day. He writes all those things down, you know. He has a book in his office. And he did the full Christmas bonus last year. That was the kids' Christmas presents.
Of course, people like me don't visit betting shops. Well, you wouldn't expect me to frequent an establishment like that, would you? So, as we were getting on so well, I inquired if you would be so good in your dinner hour, because not all of us can afford to be away from our desks for that length of time, if you would be prepared to place such a bet on my behalf. I did, if you remember, offer to share the winnings with you. I was that sure my horse, Rugged Hero, would come first. But you declined.
Mr. Warrington called the meeting. Who else?
The meeting? I was just there. I wasn't really part of it. You know what it's like. The boss enters and you do as you're told.
You think my dad just sits in his office counting his money? He has you all figured out, and that is why he is rich and you never will be.
But with reference to your question, I don't know. No, I'm not part of the inner circle. Don't even know if it was a meeting as such, just a group talking as far as I could see.
No one gets anything by waiting. You have to go and take it.
What do you want?
I was. Of course I was in the room.
Yes, the meeting. So, I just nipped in to see my dad. I asked, what's her name, if he was around. She said he was just about to talk to some people in the boardroom, and so I tagged along. So, what? Is this some kind of breakthrough? Is this what you wanted to hear? Does this mean something to you? Who called it? Who calls any meeting that counts around here?
Mr. Warrington was holding a meeting with Mr. Parry, the line manager. And I was just there, bringing some boxes in.
You cost me money that day, and I don't forget. And I rarely forgive.
End of that question, I guess.
Yeah, it would appear so. Is there another question?
Yeah, here it comes. Did you attend the meeting?
Of course I was there. If Mr. Warrington calls a meeting, you attend. It's in the nature of the firm. He is the owner, in case you'd forgotten. It was announced on television that people were to return to work if they could. Summer was over. Time to return to the 9 to 5. Of course it wasn't. How could it be? Thousands had already lost their jobs. Companies had closed right across the country. The market was no longer there. There was no point being upset about it. That was the new world. The trains were still empty, the roads were still quiet, and buses ran even if no one was in them. It was like one of those Hollywood zombie films. Only this one was for real.
Yes, I was there. So what? A big revelation. Wow, what a breakthrough. You must feel so pleased. The place was almost deserted. Just Dad, George, and a couple of guys that did something around the factory. I don't know what. Just carrying things from one place to another. I might have seen them from the Christmas party, but that was months ago now. They weren't exactly in my social set.
I was there, but I can't say that I attended. I was just in the room. Mr. Parry had us bring in a couple of boxes, which me and Peter did. We set them down.
I'm not one to hold grudges. Let bygones be bygones, or something like that. Because life moves on, and we all have to. And so should you. I was in the room, but only to fulfill my usual role in those proceedings. Taking the minutes.
Tell me something, because I'm interested. Why didn't you? At Christmas, why didn't you? You had the opportunity, as they say. Just you and her.
Not everyone was going to see the end of June and still have a job. That was the reality of it. Everyone knew it, or do you think I didn't speak to all those in the department? You were working with us, so I had rung you and the others many times, didn't I? I read out to you the first levels in the company that were to be let go. And they all got what they were entitled to. No one got swindled out of anything.
I said I was sorry about the emails.
Changes people, doesn't it? Money. Once you have to find it each week, each month. After that, no one has any friends, do they?
Actually, there were no minutes taken. It wasn't that kind of meeting. It was much more informal, I would have said. There was no agenda, you see, just Mr. Warrington and Mr. Parry scheduled. In all honesty, I don't think Mr. Parry even expected Mr. Warrington to be in that day. I certainly didn't. I was only there to type up some letters for Mr. Warrington. I thought there would only be the two of us, so I was surprised when Mr. Parry and those two others arrived.
Tell me, did she get her kit off for you? That was the point of you both going into the stockroom, wasn't it? You weren't there to count the envelopes, were ya?
Mr. Warrington didn't want to do it. The company has been his life's work, don't you understand? He built it up from nothing with his bare hands. Don't kid yourself, son. He didn't start off with a silver spoon in his gob. He did it through hard work.
It must have been embarrassing. But you couldn't have been destroyed by it. Your emails to me were quite sweet, in a way. But you sent them to me. That's the same as putting it into the public domain. So I don't feel guilty about it. So stop looking at me like that. I am not responsible for whatever you think I am responsible for. I'm just a girl, so let me go.
Did you say once that you looked after your mother? Is she here?
Anyway, as I said, I was taken aback when Mr. Parry and the other two turned up. I think they were doing something, anyway. Mr. Warrington was there. He's a very nice gentleman. Totally different from his daughter. You know her, don't you? Well, yes, everyone now knows about that.
True dare, kiss or tell, and you know who dared her. Her best friend, so she would have an excuse to be with ya in the stockroom. And what did you do? Nothing.
Winners and losers, you know the saying. No one had any experience of this. There was no wise old man that we could go to. The last time this happened was 100 years ago.
It wasn't much of a meeting. George Parry and my dad, the others, I didn't take much notice of them. Why should I? They were just employees, like you. Oh, that sounds harsh, doesn't it? Well, I don't care. It's the truth. That's what you are. What you were. Probably all you'll ever be.
Or is your mother away at the moment? Don't remember seeing her when I arrived.
Hard choices needed to be made to save the company. Why else do you think? None of that, of course, is what you're really asking, though. Is it?
What have you done? What are you really capable of? Are you capable of anything?
Yeah, I was in the room. So what?
Fourth question, Sergeant.
Which reads, what did you say?
I'm thinking, okay? I don't remember exactly. Everyone was speaking at once, at one point. They all wanted to give their point of view. Each one of them thought... Nothing. I can't remember. I'm sure I said something, but I can't remember now. I'd like this to end now, if you don't mind. I want to go home. I had enough of playing your game. I want to go home.
What should I tell you? You weren't invited. I realize that the result of that meeting had a direct impact on you, and others. Let's not forget that. You were not the only one affected.
I had taken a quick look at the financial report while I had been at my desk. The envelope wasn't sealed. So when I was asked to bring it in to Mr. Warrington, I was fairly knowledgeable about the state of the company. And yes, I understood what the implications were.
I don't know. It seems quite a while ago now. I mean, I'm sure I did. Never been short of things to say before. But as to that moment, that day, that second, I can't recall. You think I said something? Prove it.
I'm sorry about calling you a freak before. Probably shouldn't have done that. But any other man... Well, you know.
Must have been a bit of a novelty, at least at first, for my missus. You know what it's like, something different, someone different, exciting. She isn't exactly posh, I wouldn't say that, but posher than I was usually getting. Thought I struck gold, at least at first.
The economy was turning into a recession, the worst in 300 years. That's what was in the newspapers for those that bothered to still read them. Something had to be done. The situation could not continue. I'm sorry, I really am. But the firm could not continue to take on the level of debt that was weighing down upon it. So, yes, that is why the meeting was called.
Things were clearly going to change. That was obvious.
Look, Warrington was there. George was at the table. Dave was hanging by the door. Yours truly and the daughter. Oh, and Miss Hawkeye herself, of course. She probably couldn't get in quick enough, delivering the bad news to the group. We were in the red, old son. You understand what that means? No money. We were broke. Poor as a proverbial church rodent.
Everyone knows what happened in the stockroom, or didn't happen, as the case appears to be. I suppose you think people will think better of you just because you acted nobly. Let me tell you something, young man. In this world, everyone is out for themselves. Everyone wants only what benefits them. They do not care what happens to others. So when someone comes along and shows the rest up for what they are, you should not expect them to thank you for it.
Anyway, old Warrington wasn't that bad as it happens. He seemed quite a decent guy. He even invited me and Dave to have a cup of tea with him to discuss the future of the firm. Can you believe that? The old man actually interested in what we had to say?
It was a decision I had made. Didn't you understand that? Everyone else had someone. But as the boss's daughter, no one dared come anywhere near me. Offering myself to you was one of the few decisions that I was allowed to make.
Look, I wasn't the only one in the room, all right? You really can't hang all this on me.
Weakness, because that is what it was. Don't try to defend it. It's always looked down upon. Oh, I know what you might say. You were being a gentleman under the circumstances, kind, considerate, doing the decent thing. Where did you think that is going to get you? In this world.
And now, the boss was actually talking to the rest of us. This fella's stock went right through the roof in my eyes. I thought he's okay in my book. Do you know, we actually got to use the very chairs that the board members usually sit in. Did you know that? It's true. I could almost have imagined myself in a shirt and tie.
So I knew the answers to all the questions. Of course I did. I just waited until it was my turn. And I got the answer wrong. My penalty? Make out with you?
So when, at the Christmas party, I saw my wife looking in your direction, I thought, screw you. Sorry. What was the question again?
So, yes, of course I spoke. What choice did I have? But I wasn't the only one.
Pretending to be morally superior to the rest of us was never going to make you any friends. And, of course, in the meeting, you didn't have any.
We were all talking. Yes, we were all in the boardroom. Yes, it was good to be asked. And yes, we all spoke as if we were the new board of directors. So we spoke in a different way, and we all thought in a different way.
Another question.
Who chose those to be let go?
The subject came up. Been off for about 10 weeks, so I didn't much care who stayed and who went. Kind of getting used to it, actually.
The axe had to fall somewhere. Somebody was going to have a bad day. I'm sorry you were just part of the flock. Nothing particularly wrong with you, but nothing to make you stand out.
I would prefer not to discuss that, if you don't mind. Some things should remain secret.
Warrington's the boss man. It's his show. His decision at the end of the day. He's the one you should be talking to, not me.
As I said before, I can't remember everything that was said. I wasn't the only one there, you know. There were others.
In truth, I was quite happy to stay on furlough, or pretend to be, quote, working from home, for as long as the old man of the firm was prepared to keep the party going.
I did wonder why you invited me here. I thought... but no. It wouldn't have been that, would it?
I'll just say this. We had to take a dispassionate approach to who would remain and who would not. It was not done lightly. No one took any pleasure in it. We all knew, I knew, that there would be members of staff that would be hurt, and not just financially, but also upset that they were considered expendable.
When we weren't there, at the factory, you understand, we got what? 80% of our pay based on the previous 12 months? But with no travel costs, right? We returned to no overtime. And the travel. Strange when you think about it, that we were worse off working. That's the thing about jobs today. You have to work out if you can afford to do them.
Everyone had something to say. The minions couldn't believe it, being asked what they thought. You should have seen their faces. The boss talking to them. Do you think that's what people really want? More than anything else? To be noticed, taken seriously, to feel they matter?
You can just imagine how thrilled I was when I got a call from George. But, Mr. Parry? I was even less thrilled when my pretty other half inquired if you would be rejoining the firm. She didn't ask about me, how I felt about returning to work. It was about you. I did start to wonder.
It was a commercial decision. That's all. No one was being judged. It wasn't a comment on anyone.
Her name's Amanda. You met her once at the Christmas party. That Christmas party. The now famous Christmas party. The Christmas party in which I heard my wife laugh for the first time in ages because of something you said when they were all standing around playing some silly game or other. I was on the other side of the room, music blaring out, lights down, but I heard even with all that noise, I heard you make her laugh.
Perhaps the knife was wielded by many, everyone taking a well-aimed swipe. No lethal blow, just the end by 1,000 minor cuts. You see, and I have tried to tell you this while we have been talking, is that the world of work is rarely about work.
Like all those that ever had it easy, you feel sorry for yourself. That's what all this is about. Poor you. Come and walk in my shoes if you think life has dealt you some rough cards lately. I should be retiring soon, not working myself to the bone.
I don't know which I hate more. Those that never have opportunity, or those that get it, but do nothing at all with it. And that's you. You must have been the only one in the entire factory that didn't know the boss's daughter had a crush on him.
Your emails were very sweet. You wouldn't have been using me. It was my choice. Could be my choice again.
The one who is seen as talented, but owes their advancement to no one.
I haven't made her laugh in years. Do you know what it's like to be with someone when you know that out of all the world, you're the one person that they don't want to be with? I put in my penny's worth.
So, when we talked, we all talked about you.
I was asked for my opinion, and I said who we needed, and who we could do without.
Well, we were all in the room, weren't we?
We're almost there, sir.
One last question to go. I won.
We'll know soon enough, Inspector.
What's the question?
Not so much a question, more of a statement.
Oh?
It reads, "Not sure I believe you."
Well, screw you if you don't believe me. I'm telling you the truth. Everyone was there. Well, there were 5 of us. couldn't say for sure exactly who said what or when, but someone suggested, yes, that was it. Only suggested that perhaps you were actually not that happy in the company. That if you had to leave, you wouldn't be that upset.
There's no need for that, young man. That is not funny. Only children are amused by such childish antics. I am not intimidated by such implied threats. I will certainly be taking this up with Mr. Warrington when I am next in work.
Who cares? We all chose you. Can you guess? The old man didn't know who you were, didn't even know your name, but we did.
Jobs were being lost everywhere. It wasn't just us. We were nothing special. We weren't just laying people off because we were bored.
Okay. So you've screwed the knife into the chair between my legs. Very phallic. Who's Amanda?
It wasn't personal. Personally, I thought you were okay. I thought you were a good guy.
It was Daphne. She was the one.
After I told my good lady that I was safe, she asked me if you were.
Not my face. Please. George Parry. He was the one. The others, they just followed. They were so scared for their jobs. They didn't care. As long as it wasn't them.
Oh, Jesus. Look. I can't be sure. I'm not making any accusations, but it obviously came from one of the others.
Only kidding. I may hate your guts, but I wouldn't get you this sack. No, that was Peter. I'm telling you the truth.
Look, you're young. You've got your whole life ahead of you. I'm 60. I'm not going to get another job, am I? Of course, I could see the way it was going.
Have you never made a mistake? Oh, I shouldn't have to die for it.
Let me go! Let me go! Let me go! It wasn't me! It wasn't me! It wasn't me! Dave Smith. For some reason.
Peter is the one that should be sitting here, not me. What don't you understand? It was Peter Hennessy.
Do you really not understand? You don't stay in with your work colleagues because you like them. You stay in with them because one day you might need them. That's what company politics is all about.
Everyone had their reason to hate you. Everyone had their reasons to never want to see you again. We all wanted you out. I'm not the only one to blame. There was a whole group of us.
Did you have my wife?
We had 4 years to face the fact that we were leaving the world's biggest trading bloc. What did you think was going to happen? Of course we were going to have to cut costs. For God's sake, the pandemic, it was a gift. It gave managements right across the country the license to do what they were going to have to do anyway. Don't you get it?
Don't you understand? Humiliation is now the national sport. They read your declaration of love for Amanda, laughed, and then moved on. That's the world you're in. Get used to it. because it's only going to get worse.
My reason? You must have worked it out by now. No? You got the girl I wanted. Simple as that. So get lost.
And you still cost me a small fortune on that horse.
Come on then. Come on. Come on.
Ruth's desk is where the CCTV monitor is kept. Is that why you didn't have Daphne in there? In case the computer program recognized your general build and shape? Because they can do that these days. Why did we let you go? Better to go as a result of a pandemic than as a thief. What do you say, Graham?
Wait! Wait! Wait!
End of the footage, sir.
Will find its place on social media, no doubt.
People never seem to realise how interconnected we all are.
All care, Sergeant, all care. Let's go and pick up this Graham fella. I'm sure the company will have some details about him.
In Blame, Jeff Bainham was George, Charlotte Frost was Daphne, Julian Casey was Peter, Helen Fullerton was Ruth, and Tom O'Reilly was Dave, with Nigel Peaver as Inspector Hudson and Tom Hume as Sergeant Clark. Artwork for the production was by Sheila Jackson. The music was composed and performed by Paul Whiting, and the play was written and directed by John Fryer. Blame is an audio production for Political Art.
And that was Blame from John Fryer. And if you'd like to hear any of the other John Fryer radio plays we've aired here at Art Radio Transmission, then don't forget to have a little look at our YouTube podcast channel.